Well, Israel is sending home hundreds of foreigners who were seized when troops stormed their ships carrying aid to Gaza. But there's little sign of global anger subsiding as people and politicians continue to vent their fury. At least 9 pro-Palestinian activists were killed and dozens injured. RT's Paula Sleer is following developments for us inside Israel.
The Israeli authorities are saying that by the end of tomorrow, Thursday, 682 activists will have been deported from this country. Included among them are some 24 that Israel earlier said it would prosecute for attacking its own soldiers. We also understand that at this stage, this is the first time that the passengers are receiving some kind of assistance from human rights organizations. They have criticized the Israeli authorities for not allowing any kind of contact with these passengers since the clashes first happened on Monday morning. We also understand from the passengers themselves that they have been very poorly treated by the Israelis. Now, 5 buses carrying 124 activists have already crossed through the Allenby border crossing between Israel and Jordan. Amongst them are some 30 Jordanian citizens who are lawmakers and journalists. You need to remember that Jordan is one of only 2 Arab countries that has a peace treaty with Israel. The other activists on those buses come from countries such as Morocco, Algeria, Bahrain, Indonesia, Malaysia, while at the same time European activists have begun returning to their cities, and we are hearing from passengers now back in Paris, in Athens and in Berlin. 9 people were killed in these clashes. Most of them are Turkish citizens. Most of the injured are also Turkish. We caught up with a few who have already arrived back in Istanbul.
They never reached Gaza, but they did make headlines. These are among the first passengers to return home after a harrowing few days at sea. They're lucky to be alive.
We saw the Israeli boats approaching the Mavi Marmara. Then we heard gunshots. The captain called us and said, "Go away." Israeli soldiers opened fire, broke the windows and doors. While the captain was warning us, we heard gunshots and a big explosion. We tried to flee, but soldiers captured us, and he took us to the Ashdod port.
The flotilla's youngest passenger, this 1.5-year-old baby. His mother says she was released because of him. She's certain as many as 20 people were killed in the clashes, while a dozen more are missing.
I protected my baby with a gas mask and life jacket during the attack. 3 of the passengers were in critical condition. They were sent to the port of Ashdod by helicopter.
Dozens of the 700-odd flotilla passengers have been released, but many more are still being detained in a prison in southern Israel. They're refusing to give their names and now have 72 hours to appeal to an Israeli court before risking deportation. The international community is outraged. It says Israel's actions are criminal and are calling for a thorough investigation.
If we shall see that actually the Security Council succeeds once to enforce its will or the will of international community upon Israel, it would already be a very, very good thing, because one of the main problems of Israel today is a problem of schizophrenic attitude to the world.
The Arab League is urging members to cut ties with Israel, while the United Nations Security Council endorsed a presidential statement condemning the actions that led to the bloodbath, but it stopped short of condemning Israel by name.
At the very least, it should apologize. Apologies are not enough, quite honestly. I mean, the fact that the United Nations Security Council, which would have condemned any other country apart from the United States, which had behaved like this, is not even finding it in itself to pass a strong condemnation of Israel is grotesque. It shows that the Security Council essentially does what the United States wants it to do.
Human rights activists say they still don't know the identities of those killed, and many of the passengers' families are still in the dark as to whether or not their loved ones are alive or dead.
Now, the Israelis have insisted that their soldiers came under live fire. They say that there were weapons, there were guns, there were knives on board, and that this is why their soldiers were forced to respond in self-defense. But as more and more eyewitnesses who were on board those ships talk out, we are hearing a very different story. Adam Shapiro is a member of the board of the Free Gaza movement. His wife was on one of those ships, and this is what he had to say.
She told me what happened on her ship when it was boarded by Israeli commandos. People on her ship offered no resistance. However, they were filming and with cameras, and people were punched and subdued with physical force by the Israeli soldiers. They then, of course, wrapped their wrists in plastic cuffs And then they were taken to prison, to the detention center. In the detention center, my wife was also punched and hit there. And then when she was being released, an Israeli police officer taking her out of the prison elbowed her in the face as she was, being let out of the jail.
We understand that at this stage, Turkey is saying it is going to send another ship, that this ship will be bringing humanitarian aid and will be accompanied by vessels from the Turkish Navy. There's also one ship off the coast of Italy that's planning to come here, and another ship that is called Rachel Corrie that was actually involved in the Freedom Flotilla but managed to escape and not actually be brought here into Ashdod where I'm standing. There are 15 passengers on board, including a Nobel Peace Prize laureate from Northern Ireland. The Irish Prime Minister has appealed to Israel to allow this ship with cargo to reach Gaza, Israel insisting that it will not allow the ship to reach. We are hearing reports that the ship could arrive sometime today or possibly later in the week. So the international community with its eyes glued on Gaza and on the Israeli army's response as people try to get aid, very much needed aid, to the people of Gaza.